Dear Yatsvub, will you give me gains? If not, the hell with you. Feeling really tight. Whoa. Make sure to warm up really nice. Not only to prevent injury, but to increase performance in and outside the gym. Deadlifts is gonna be the first exercise. We're gonna start pretty light, just as a warm up, feel out set, before moving on to the working sets, which are gonna be 5 sets of 5 repetitions. So going somewhat heavy, but probably not gonna go to our all out 5 rep max. We're kind of just getting back into it. That's what's so beautiful about this prep phase, is that you can take your time and feel it out a little bit. You can actually spend quite a bit of time on this phase if you need to. We're really gonna just do it for 1 week before we move on, just to kind of get back into the swing of things. But if you are having problems, I shouldn't say problems. If you're wanting to see some progression in there on a program like this, on this prep phase, then stay with it anywhere from 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, until you feel comfortable in moving on to the actual program. That's what's so great about having a prep phase, is really get you prepared for more of the higher intensity, kind of the complexity, and also the higher volume too, that's in those later stages. So that's why we're a huge fan of 5x5. It's really just an all-out perfect prep, beginner, and even advanced in some cases if you're going really heavy too. So it's a good roundabout kind of program you can always incorporate. A few things that can go wrong in the deadlift is the bar is too far forward. What you really want to do is do it about mid-foot, pretty much where your shoelaces would be located if you're wearing shoes. In this case, I'm wearing socks. But if you step up to the bar, and just about where your shoelaces would be is the appropriate bar placement. And what you want to do is another kind of test. If you kind of bow forward, your shins should just about hit the bar there. It's another good indication you're in the right positioning. Foot width is gonna be just about hip width, with toes slightly pointed out in a comfortable position. And then when you grasp the bar, it's gonna be right outside your legs here, maybe slightly wider than shouldered. What happens is your knees are gonna be placed against the inner elbows area here, the crook of the elbow there. And another mistake a lot of people make is squatting down too much. For the deadlift, they're kind of more in a squat position. What you want to do is increase that. You feel that nice stretch in the hamstrings, so you more want to kind of lift those hips pretty high. And then when you're in this position, pull that chest up and try to get that back nice and flat. You kind of feel everything tighten up quite a bit. And then you can kind of like drop your stomach below or in between your legs or knees there. And then you'll feel really tight and ready to go. As you can see, the bar's rolling away. So you wanna make sure it's in the proper position, because everything can kind of get messed up if the bar is all of a sudden out of the position there. So you wanna kind of have everything ready, get into this position here, hips high, kind of slightly drop down, tighten those hamstrings, arch, and pull that chest up, neutral chin, and then you're ready to deadlift. So it should feel really tight before you do it. If you kind of feel loose, you're not ready. Your hamstrings should feel a little tight. Of course, when you pull that chest up, your lower back and your lats tighten up. You grip the bar really hard, and do a double overhand grip until you start feeling that bar roll. You can do it over under, or just use straps with the double overhand grip, because sometimes doing it, you can, with the external rotation in one hand, if you do this all the time, you'd either create imbalances in there, or the bar can slightly swing away from you just because of the positioning of this arm in comparison to this. So the bar placement might be a little weird, be pulling a little awkwardly, so you just gotta be careful in that way. But other than that, that's the deadlift. And of course, when you're performing it properly every time, again and again and again, well, 1, you're gonna, no matter what, get better at it. And 2, you're gonna be able to progress very quickly in weight, because you're doing it right and you're having all those muscles kind of contract and help with that movement, and then be a badass. Then you'll be deadlifting hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So there you go, the deadlift. Hell yeah. Next we have pull-ups. Now pull-ups are a pretty difficult exercise. Not everyone can perform them, so we would recommend, if you can't do pull-ups, either do inverted rows, which is another excellent exercise, really trying to build up that strength in the back. Also pull downs is good, or pull up negatives where you jump into position and slowly let yourself down to the bottom position. But pull-ups, to begin to start understanding the movement of them and really the activation, obviously lats are a huge thing, but the problem is, if you're not really familiar with pull-ups, you haven't done them or really can't do them, a lot of times you're gonna try to pull your body up with just your arms. And that's pretty difficult if you really don't have a lot of arm strength to begin with. If obviously you're pretty strong, you can kind of do arm pulls, but I mean, you have to have pretty strong arms to pull up 100 to 200 pounds. So to really try to activate your lats is really gonna help you with your first pull-up. So it's not only the depression of your traps or your scapula, which is in the hang position, you're depressing downward. It's almost like doing a reverse shrug in a way, where you're pulling those shoulders down. That's kind of the beginning position, but what's happening is your scapula is an upward rotation here. So if you look at it and you're hanging, dead hang, the scapula is gonna rotate upwards. And what happens if you wanna kind of pull it, you're not only depressing, but you're trying to pull that scapula in a downward rotation. That's really activating the lats. So if you kind of think about that while you're doing it, it's gonna really help you activate the proper muscles to get in the right position and get that nice function activation in all the muscles there. So it's not only working, of course, your lats, it's gonna work your biceps as a secondary muscle group, but also your traps too. Your traps are gonna be really engaging to really help with that movement in your scapula there. And so it's just really getting into position and kind of understanding the form and function of it that can really help you to start performing your first pull-up. Oh yeah, feels good. It's also very difficult. Even if you know what you're doing, you've done it for a long time, it's still a tough exercise. So just getting used to it, performing the pull down, inverted row, or pull up negatives. It's always a good starter, and then progress from there.
You can think of yourself as a little bit like a buff dude transformer. As far as visualization is concerned, you can do a couple things. You can just bring the scapula back and then down. As Brandon was saying, you can really instantly feel that in your lats right there. And that's what you want to use when performing the exercise, so you're not just arm pulling the whole time. So when you do a little bit of that transformation, it's back, it's down, just like this. Something else which can really help is as you pull yourself up, imagine you're putting your elbows into your back pockets, and that's really gonna help activate the lats even more. You pull up, chin above the bar, back down. Each time you really wanna keep the scapula back and down, pull the elbows into the pockets, just like so. That way you're engaging your whole body to come together as a group to get that pull-up done. Victory.
On to the incline press, and this one is focusing on the upper portion of the chest, or the clavicular portion. The thing about the clavicular portion, it's not a lot to it. I mean, there's not a lot of fibers as much as the lower portion of the chest, so really try to pay close attention to this. And of course, that along with genetics is sometimes it's easy to have a lacking upper chest. And really to have a symmetrical looking chest, you do want to try to develop your upper chest as much as you can to have that nice round and full look. That's why we are including the incline barbell press. One of the best for the upper chest, and what you want to do is get in the position, see the bench is around a 40-degree angle or so, and you're just gonna be grabbing the barbell. And of course, since it is working the clavicular portion of the chest, you want to bring that bar right to your clavicle. As you can see, it's just right below your chin, and you can be pressing it up from there. So nice wide stance to support yourself. You bring it down, touch, and back up. Now with these, you want to depress your shoulders, so you don't want to be like kind of pulling those shoulders high. If you're shrugging upwards, you won't be able to get the kind of retraction in the scapula that is necessary to help stabilize this motion and get the most out of the press. So if your shoulders are shrugged up, if your scapula is forward, you're immediately gonna feel a lot of tension and stress in that shoulder joint. You're not gonna be able to lower the bar all the way down. You're really not gonna get any activation in the chest. It's mainly gonna be in their front delts and also in the triceps too, the secondary muscle group. So you wanna pull those shoulders down, pull those shoulders back. It's gonna immediately raise the chest. And as soon as you bring that bar down to your clavicle here, you're gonna feel that nice stretch in the chest. and that pure activation. Now the front delts are going to be activated still throughout the duration as a secondary muscle group, but they're only there to help out just slightly. Most of the work can be right in the upper chest area where we want it. So there you go, incline dumbbell, the incline barbell press. So we are on to the overhead press, and this is predominantly working the shoulders. With this, you're gonna be starting with the bar at the clavicle, and you're just gonna be pushing the bar straight up. With the bar going in that vertical motion there, what you're gonna have to do is just bob your head out of the way, pass the bar through, and then as the bar kind of gets past your head, you push your head through to get into that more stable positioning, that straight position here for the full lockout, and then you lower it back down to the bottom position. Now this is working a lot in the front delt, just because, of course, the bar is placed on the front portion of your body here. So the front delt, the anterior deltoid, is really gonna be pushing a lot, and funny enough, the clavicular portion of the chest too will help out, just because, again, it's right at that clavicle level, and you're pushing here. But the thing is, although the clavicular portion of the chest might help a little bit, you don't wanna overstimulate it by leaning back, and then start leaning back here turns into more of that chest press in a way, and it's really just kind of breaking that nice structured, kind of stabilized position of the spine, that perfect vertical position there, and also the really contracted and stable core. So what you want to do is really try to keep that vertical torso, get that nice strong push through the shoulders, and then bring it down to bottom position. And what you want to do is have a pretty stable position in your feet too. A military press, as they explain it, is because you're kind of standing at attention, which is going to be feet together. That's the military press. But with the overhead press, you're going to be kind of widening your stance here to kind of stabilize your position. But instead of having a bend in your knees and pushing with your legs, much like the push press, what you can do is lock out your knees and really kind of externally rotate your feet into the floor, corkscrew them into the floor. And what that's gonna do is really engage the hips. So you're gonna immediately feel that contraction in the glutes, and then you're gonna flex in the core, and boom, you're like an awesome stable machine ready to do that pressing. So we're gonna bust 5 reps of these out. All right, here we go. Hands just about shoulder. Stable position, corkscrew those feet in. There we go. Now another way to really stabilize that motion too is if you have the bar at the clavicle position, but your shoulders are protracted forward, what's gonna do is gonna become unstable, and the bar's gonna wanna pull you forward. What you do is pull those shoulders back, retract them back, and that's gonna pull the bar closer to your clavicular portion there, and that way it's nice and stable, and it's ready to push straight up. So that way is the weight, if you imagine the bar right in a straight line, is located right in your mid-foot there. So that way when you're doing that press, and all that weight is stabilized by not only the position, but also the structure of your body. So your center of gravity is really stable there, although it is of course raised as you press the weight up and lower back down. But since it's not pulling away from you or behind you, you do feel that nice stable structure to be able to push a lot of weight.
You may be asking yourself why I'm shirtless so much in these episodes. It's because it's our own gym. We can do whatever we want. I'm gonna let these nipples be free. Free the buff nipple. It's actually it's a biffle. We are done with the big compounds, which is a good thing because that's taxing your body pretty hard. So now we're moving on to the isolations. We're gonna be doing barbell curls, arguably the greatest exercise for building that bicep size. But the thing you wanna remember is the bicep really only takes 1/3 of the entire arm, so you wanna take it easy. It can be easy to load this one up with a lot of weight, but then you start making a lot of mistakes. One of the most common one, of course, that you'll probably see in any gym in the world really, is you see those guys, they load up a ton of weight and they immediately start putting their hips into it, they start putting a little bit of swing. We're really trying to avoid that because we're really trying to focus just on the bicep itself. So what you wanna do is you wanna grab a weight, of course, like always, that works for you. Even if it's a little light, no worries. The barbell curl, it's a simple one. It's a very effective one, especially when you're doing it properly because you're gonna build those buff dude guns. Yeah.
So we are on to the bent over reverse flies, and this one is working in horizontal abduction and adduction, kind of taking your arms away from the body and then adding to center line of your body. This is really trying to focus on the posterior deltoid, and this is considered a isolation exercise. So in comparison to the compound exercise that work multiple joints and muscles at the same time, that's one reason why you have those as a priority. You work those first and you really get the most bang for your buck in a compound exercise. If you want to get mass, if you want to get strength, you utilize compound exercises for sure. But then as you kind of progress, you want to maybe work on some lagging body groups or kind of try to get a little bit more symmetrical. That's when you start introducing the isolation exercises, which are gonna be like the barbell curls, the bent over reverse flies, to really try to focus and pinpoint on single muscle groups. Now, there'll be muscle groups that help out with these, much like the barbell curl. You're really trying to focus on really strict form, but of course the front deltoid might help out a little bit. Of course the forearms will help out a little bit with the grip, much like the bent over reverse flies. Your traps will be kind of helping with a little bit of the retraction of the scapula when you're horizontally abducting. So there's still muscle groups that help out with movements even in the isolation exercise, but you're focusing and you're pinpointing a little bit more extra on certain muscle groups. And in this case, it's going to be the posterior deltoid. And we're going to be getting in the bent over position, just like so. And what you're going to be doing is, like I said, horizontal, abduct, and then adduct here. So straight line, pull back, retract the scapula, and then pull it back down to that center line. And you'll see, as the name explains, reverse fly, it's really working on the reverse motion of a fly. So instead of adducting into the center line, working the chest, you're actually abducting outward to really help isolate the posterior deltoids because they're pulling that way up. And of course, in an eccentric contraction, you're back to adduction, horizontal adduction to the beginning position and then starting over. So with these, it's gonna be 3 sets of 10 reps. You'll notice too, the sets are decreased a bit and the reps are increased. So you're gonna be taking the isolations a bit lighter because since it's only a single joint working, you don't wanna put too much stress on it. So you're gonna get a little bit lighter in the weight. The volume is going up a bit as far as the reps, and the sets are dropped down a bit just to not overdo it. But that's one of the reasons why we include the isolation exercises in this program.
Plantar flexion. See how my feet, looks like I'm planting a little seed. You're Buff Dude Appleseed, Johnny Buff Dude Appleseed. You're planting muscles, little calf muscles. With every rep, they grow. Yeah, I'm feeling it in those calves. And you know what? That wraps up day 2.